Hello there, good people. What's going on? Happy Friday to you. Let the week begin. I tell you, it's been a little tough one for me, but I'm here. I made it. And speaking of making it, today is Friday the 13th. What's all this superstitious stuff about? It's another day, you made it, you're breathing, you're alive. Why would it be unlucky? When you look it up, it tells you that the Western society says it's a superstition and it occurs at least once a year and it can occur up to 3 times a year. So, with that logic, if it's so unlucky, why does it happen more than once? Isn't that luck? All right, I'll leave that one alone. Anyway, did you know that most stress is caused from other people not being responsible? What's going on with that? If someone else is late, that affects you. If someone doesn't do what they're supposed to do, that affects you, which just gives you some stress. And who has enough stress in their life? We don't need any more. I think we have an overflow on that one. Hey, Miss Vonda, how are you? Hey, DJ Music, always good to see you. Thank you so much. And another thing I wanted to give you guys is a story about free. Anybody that knows me personally know I like coupons and I like free. And I'm pretty good at it. Been doing it for years. But I got caught up last week. And this is what happened. I got a free item, but it wasn't free. I looked on my credit card statement and it said $159. And I'm like, this is some expensive free. So let me contact the company and let them know there's a mistake and you need to reverse these charges. So I gave them a call yesterday and I was on the phone about a good hour and a half trying to explain to them that this free product was on my credit card statement for $159. And they tried to explain to me that I was credited for that free item. I'm like, well, explain that to me because this bill that I see has a good 159 on here. And they explained to me that it was on there, but they credited. I said, okay. I said, well, let's get our calculator out. So I was on my phone, so I just used the calculator on the phone. And I said, okay, let's start doing some deductions here. I said, so once you deduct, what do you come up with? And he had to concede and say, okay. But he said, let me check something else. So he put me on hold, came back. So like I said, this call was a good hour and a half. It might have been an hour and 20 minutes actually. But I was so hungry. I couldn't even tell you. I went to the kitchen, got a few things, came back, drank some water. He's like, you still here? I said, I'm still here. I'm holding. I need you guys to credit me my $159 for this free item. Otherwise, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll send you the free item back, and then you give me my $159 back. How about that? And then he went on to explain to me that he couldn't take it back because it has been like 30 days. Now, I've been pretty busy, I must say. When I get off work, last thing I want to do is get on the phone. I don't want to talk. I'm talked all day. I'm talked out. So I explained to him that, I'm tired. I said, I'm hungry. I said, and I understand that it is possible that I'm a little delusional. However, I could see this clearly, this $159 on my credit card statement. So whatever's going on, I need you to take it off. Let me send you back this free item. I really appreciate the free item that you gave me, but I need you to take this $159 off my bill. So I was put on hold again, came back later, and he explained the same thing to me the second time, that it was put on the bill, but it was credited. I said, okay. I said, let me go to the website. So I went to the website. I pulled up the item. I said, well, what is the original item? How much is that? I said, well, add $159 to that. I said, what is your total? I said, well, that's what my credit card statement says. So again, how is this free if it's still the $159 extra on my credit card bill? So he puts me on hold again. He comes back. By this time, I think I got a phone call. Yeah, I got a phone call and I just text my friend. I just told her I'll call her back. And we continued talking for about another half hour. And then he saw it. I had to break it down for him. I said, you know what? I said, I think I need a little sugar. I said, let me put some candy in my mouth and then maybe my brain will work a little better and I can explain it to you. So we tried it again. I said, okay, I said, how much is 159 plus my item? I said, okay, how much do you see? I said, okay, now tell me how it's deducted. Tell me where the free is. So for some reason, it clicked in that third time. He put me on hold, came back. He said, I'm sorry. I was wondering what you kept saying. He said, I see what you're saying. He said, so you'll be credited the $159 within 3 days. You should see it on your bill. I said, you can do that? I said, no manager, no nothing. He said, yeah, I can do that. I said, thank you. I really appreciate it. Wrote his name down, put on my calendar, told him I'll check my credit card statement on Tuesday because he said, give it 3 days. I said, well, it's Thursday. I'm going to give you the Tuesday. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you for my free item. And then I had dinner. All right. And I see my co host has arrived, and I don't have any music for her. But without further ado, everyone, the classic Ruby, everybody. Round of
Wah,
applause.
wah, wah. You have to have some kind of music,
Right.
right?
How are you doing tonight?
Not too shabby, not too shabby. I gotta say, listen, I personally, next week, I'm looking for the follow up to that story because people say all kinds of things are gonna happen in 3 days that never happened, right? And it's a perfect excuse because well, like what? Okay, so what does it say on my bill right now? No, 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 it happens in 3 days. So don't worry, don't worry. It doesn't matter that you don't see it today or tomorrow or the next day. But on Tuesday, when I start my vacation for a month, that's when you should see it, right? Yeah. No, so I just saying. I mean, maybe he's on the up and up. I would just like a follow up next week. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, I'll give you a follow up. But only reason why I believe him is because he did mention the manager. Because I had called before a couple of weeks ago and I marked on my calendar and I checked my bill and I still seen that 159 on there. And I gave them 2 weeks. I was supposed to
Mm,
call them the 11th. Yesterday was the 12th, and I ended up calling them on the 12th. So
mm,
they had an extra
okay.
day, no manager, no nothing. So, and I get a lot of strange calls, and they didn't leave a
Mm.
message. So, if they did try to call me and ask any questions, I wasn't available. So, oh well.
Fair, fair, fair. Okay. I mean, listen, I'm very wary of everywhere. I mean, today, I'm not even kidding. Today, first of all, I want to be clear. I got
Hmm.
a call from Willie's Chicken Shack in the United States. I'm being real. That's literally the number that came up on my phone. Willie's Shack, United States area code. And I just happened to be, awake and available and whatever. So I answered the call, right?
uh,
It's an automated message. The automated message said, "Hello, this is a call from Visa MasterCard." First, so hold on, what? Is it Visa or is it MasterCard? Because those are two different companies, right? No, this
right.
call, apparently, no, there's a magic one. It combines the power of both Visa, MasterCard. Your credit is so great that we're offering you a deal. 0%. I'm not even kidding. 0% interest credit card. A 0% interest Visa MasterCard. Press 1 if you're interested to sign up now. So Willie's Chicken Shack can offer me a Visa MasterCard with 0% interest?
Wow.
Oh, right? Across the border. This credit card's international, baby. Right?
And they
Listen.
give you some chicken.
Right? That's why I honestly almost pressed 1 just to see. Am I going to get chicken? Or am I going to get a Visa? Am I going to get a MasterCard? Or is it some amalgamation of the three? I don't know. Um, they're on some serious scamming, hustle, laziness. Like, it's just like, and I mean, I understand you're talking to like a legitimate company, but like, I don't know. Is it like just lack of training? Like, because scam artists used to be better than this. Y'all, Visa, MasterCard? Like, what percentage of the population is falling for Visa MasterCard? Like everyone knows you can have a MasterCard or you can have a Visa. They're two different things. Everyone knows that. Everyone knows that. Everyone, right? Like
Mm, who knows about everyone now? There's going to be that one person, maybe two,
okay,
that doesn't know.
everyone who would think that their credit is so amazing, that someone's going to offer them a special interest rate of only 0% is an idiot. To be like, I had a credit card with 0% interest. It's not a credit card. That's like, I don't even know what you would call that. It's not a credit card though. It's 0% interest. Zero. Like they didn't even try. Like they didn't even try to make it sound remotely believable. I was insulted. Like there's so many things you said that were insulting to my intelligence. How dare you? Yeah.
Wow, they could have made it a little bit harder, huh? Okay.
Right? Right? Just really try to hustle. Try to really hustle me properly. You're trying to steal my social insurance number and you know, I don't know. I don't know what they thought they were going to do with me and my credit score. But anyway, point is, you're trying to steal my stuff. Man, try harder. That's insulting. How stupid do you think I am? God. Willie's Chicken Shack. Y'all, I know what you're hurting. You can't have dining, eating anymore because of the pandemic. So maybe you think this is a good way to recoup your losses. This is not a good business decision. Willie's Chicken Shack, please reconsider.
Wow. Shame. Okay, well, let's go and get into this letter, which I think is shameful, but
Mm.
speaking of shameful,
Oh boy.
yeah, I was a little upset with this one. There's a couple of them always kind of jerk me a little bit. I get a little upset, but I can't control what's going on out there in the world.
Yeah.
Uh,
Reality.
there you go. All right, we got audio. Let's pull it on up.
All right.
Okay, volume up. I think so. Yeah. All right. Today I have a letter from a young lady about a boyfriend, and I'm going to get right on into it. She writes, Dear Shar, my boyfriend and I are in love. He's a great catch, but comes from a conservative family. I am a divorced single parent of an 8-year-old. The problem is that my boyfriend's mother and family members oppose him marrying me because I'm divorced with a child. They're that conservative. They've threatened to cut him off all ties with him if he marries me. I love him so much that I transferred child custody rights to my parents, and I have very little to do with my daughter now. Her father is not in the picture. But even after this sacrifice, his friends are now advising him not to marry me because they said if a woman would walk away from her child, she is not worth marrying. How can I convince him to marry me? Thank you so much for your letter.
want to hear my first response to this letter. You don't. I'm not even gonna say it because it's a lot of cussing. So
Okay, can you do it without the cursing? Because we like to play these things on, we share our audio with radio stations and different people. Yeah.
okay. Screw this lady. I hope she dies alone and
Oh
miserable.
my goodness.
Yeah, that's. I don't even
Now,
want to
now,
help her.
now.
Yeah, no, I don't. There's like literally no part of me that actually wants to help this woman. And we'll get into that a little bit later. First we gotta cover the surface stuff. But I mean, I have told the story a little bit of my cousin. Something similar happened to her, and my cousin's story is what that's the first thing I thought of, and it's like, oh, mm, 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 mm,
Mm,
mm. Yeah, I'm with his friends. You can't trust no woman who's gonna sit there and sell her own kid out for a man. What do you think she's gonna do to you? That the kid came out of her. Like it came out of her. She grew it in her womb for 9 months. And then she just abandoned her child for a man? Man, the second you do something wrong, what do you think she's gonna do? That's sorry. Yeah. Oh, I have nothing good to say. Nothing good. Nothing. I can't even think of something productive to say. Right now it's just all insults.
well, I'll tell you what I first thought of when I heard it. Is well, yeah. First thing I thought about is this conversation I had with this lady at work once, and she was telling me that by her being Catholic and divorced, she can't have communion. So I asked her to explain it to me, and she never got around to doing so because I actually wanted to see it written. I'm like, I'm just curious. I just like to see that written. What type of books or whatever you guys follow that says that. And at this time, I was in my 20s. I'm thinking, stuff happens. What if the guy was, abusive? You're supposed to stay with them. So I was just curious of what that was all about. And so I never got any information. So that's the first thing I thought of.
Mm,
Now, when she said sacrifice, that is when I kind of felt a little something, a little tremor of anger, the word sacrifice. And I'm like, huh?
mm-hmm.
What about the child?
She don't care.
What do you mean? So that's, you know, what came to mind when I first heard it. But, I give the response.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not so critical that you won't come back. I don't want to do that. I want you to, get an honest opinion and, go on with life. But I
I'm
do
trying,
understand.
man. I'm trying. I'm trying.
I know it's tough. I can understand. I do understand how tough it is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. And you have to, there is some judging you have to do. You have no choice because it's like, wait a minute, hold up. What the world?
Yeah.
So, so just try to be nice, try to be easy.
Okay. Okay. I'm trying.
It can happen.
Yeah. Not to me, it wouldn't. But
Oh,
let's start at the beginning though. First, let's take an easy one. So when it comes to communion in the Catholic Church, there's very, very, very few reasons why a Catholic Church will, um, they don't, they don't, they don't support divorce. Period. But there are reasons why they would annul your marriage. So if not like a legal annulment, they can't do that, but a religious one. So the Catholic Church can basically absolve you of your marriage, like like annul it, and in that case, you're still good to go. But unless like they basically tell you they're absolving you or annulling your marriage, you're married for life. There are verses in the Bible now that are can be interpreted that way, is that no matter what, it depends on which books you're reading, right? Some books say
mhm.
like, yeah, people can get divorced. Other books say that if once you are married, you are forever married. So even though the law of the land says you can get a piece of paper saying you're divorced, and legally by the law of the land you can get married again, according to God, when you lie down with your new husband, you lie down with your new wife, you're an adulterer because you're always married to that first person you married. But
Mm.
if you lie down with your new husband, once you do that, then your old husband should never take you back because you're an adulterer and unclean forever. So, I mean, it
Mm.
depends on where you're looking in the Bible for these things, right? Mind you, but the Catholic Church is very, strongly, obviously, in the Old Testament and anything that's very condemnation based. So
Uh-huh.
they really
Oh,
like guilt. That's what Catholicism is about. It's about guilt and shame. So they
oh,
keep you in line. So
okay. Well, that solves that. So
right.
when she was saying in the letter that they were conservative, again, like I said, I thought about the story with the Catholics. So I didn't know if that had anything to do with it, but I would think if you go as far as
Mhm.
still giving up your child, um, you're
Mhm.
gonna they're gonna look at you some kind of way anyway.
Oh yeah, you'd be even worse. You're even worse as a woman. Like, um, I mean, and it depends on what society you're looking at, but as a woman, if a relationship fails in this society, we blame the woman. If the relationship isn't failing, but you're, suddenly homeless as a family, they blame the man. It doesn't matter. No one's saying, oh, well, but the woman had a better job or the woman's the one who got fired or whatever, right? They blame the man for money issues. You blame a woman for, a relationship failing. That's what it is. So, to begin with, the fact that your marriage fell apart, especially because there's a kid, if you have those old school ideas, you're automatically pinning that on a woman anyway. And then you're the type of woman who, after all of that, you made this commitment to a kid, and then you're also going to give up the kid, all in an attempt to try to get with my kid. Like, I can see that. Like, that literally brought her down a few pegs. She was hoping, since the single motherhood, they were making such a big deal about that. She was probably hoping, well, if she gets rid of her kid, that's going to be okay. Well, now she doesn't have a kid, but it's not like her kid disappeared. Like she,
Right.
got her out of existence. No, you just took the kid that still exists. You are still a woman who is divorced with a child, only you threw both the marriage and the kid away. That's the way they see it. So, like, what are you going to do with their son? Unwise. Unwise. Mm,
Yeah, and again, I play the letter, just what I read of it. As far as my response, go, check it out.
mm-mm,
um, but I had a lot of questions, and that was just to make her think about it. Like, how was it going to work? That's
mm-hmm,
pretty much the questions I was asking, because I want to know what about the daughter, and not having much to do with her.
mm-hmm,
I don't see how that's going to solve anything and move things forward. And the other thing I'm thinking too, it may not have anything to do with what the mom or the parent says. It could be him just saying that, um,
mm-hmm.
having an excuse. And let's see if Vonda can give us a little freedom and get our minds straight.
I don't think she's going to make it better, but go ahead.
Well, hello, Shar. Hello,
Hi,
Ruby.
Hey, girl,
greetings.
hey.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome anytime.
Okay, this one is tearing at my soul.
Uh-oh.
Now, I am full on with Ruby. I'm sorry. Once you have, had this child and you have raised this child for 8 years, you do not go and give up said child to attain a man. If she was dating this man and she knew his family was conservative, that is something she should have considered. And, maybe that's something she should have second guessed herself and said, you know what, maybe we're not cut out for each other. I'm not marrying your family. I could care less what's going on with the family. And if he is that entangled and that tied up in his family that it's going to affect who he marries, then we are just not cut out to be together. You don't get rid of a child, for a mate. This child, it'd be different. This were a newborn child she's giving up. She's had this kid for 8 freaking years. Now, what is this
Yeah.
supposed to think? Okay, I'm going to grandma's house now. Where's my mom?
Yeah.
You have rejected this child. You have given this child away like, you're trading in a car. Not to mention, you get with this man and you have a child with him, then this becomes, the miracle baby, the special child. You cannot undo some things that have already been done.
Right.
Without, since some consequences,
severe ones.
And
of course.
how are these people supposed to look at her? I would have absolutely no respect for this woman if this was my son, if he was my friend, if he was my cousin, my brother. I'd be like, oh, wait a minute. She did what with her child to be with you?
Right.
What am I supposed to think about her?
Yep. And see, the thing is, what women fail to realize sometimes, right? So there's like an instinctual quality to things. So first of all, I think this man just don't want you, because if he did, he would marry you no matter what his family said. But my point is this and I've heard this discussion a lot where people will talk about, like, a house fire and who saves who or stuff like that. And here's the thing: a man will always save a woman. Why? Because a woman will always save her kids. So it's like a trickle down system. A man knows if he takes care of his woman will take care of his kids, and so everyone is taken care of. He doesn't have to keep his eye on the woman plus all the kids, and no, because he knows, as long as he keeps his eye on her, she's keeping the eye on the kids. As long as he does his job, she'll do her job. Everyone's good. So what you've done in essence, by showing her that you'll walk away from a marriage, especially because he's from a family that clearly does not believe in divorce, then it means he doesn't really believe in divorce anyway. But what you've done is you've told him that there is a possible scenario out there where this relationship will end because you walk away potentially when times get hard. And if that's the case, and y'all have children, you will throw his children away, damage them forever, because they'll not have a mom either, because you're willing to walk away from his kids when you're looking for another man. These are not good messages that you're sending out. And the more desperate and pathetic, because that's what this is, your behavior becomes, the less attractive you are making yourself to him, the less he's going to want you, the less his family is going to want you, the less all of them are going to respect you. And honestly, I think that it's like the damage is already done. Like, you can't undo that damage. How do you undo that damage at this point? You've already told him that this is what you're about.
I have to agree with you.
I agree with that too. And not to mention the irrevocable damage done to the child. There's nothing worse for a child than to ever feel like they are rejected by their parent. Because if don't nobody else want you, your mama is supposed to want you.
Mm-hmm.
And
I can't even talk about that right now. Oh God, I'm so mad.
Like, I'm so mom mad. Doesn't want you. It's like, well, goodness gracious, But you know what? I noticed that this woman, the father is not in the picture, and because the father is not in the picture, it seems to me that she does not value the child because the father is not there.
Mm-hmm.
for whatever reasons he chose not to be in this child's life. Maybe he walked away. But this is a man that she chose to have a child with.
Right.
And he's not there. So now who does this child have? If the mom's gonna walk away and go on with a brand new family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just the grandparents, but I look at the fact that the child woke up every day with mom there, and now this is a long, permanent vacation. It's like mom went away, and when is mom coming back?
Oh, she's old enough to know exactly what's happening. Okay, I'll tell you a story. I'll tell you the story because obviously it's just seething right under the surface. So my baby cousin, she's in North Carolina now. But when she was a kid, her mom and her daddy, I'm related to her daddy. They had a little oopsie baby. She's the oopsie baby. And her mom took her to New York to start a new life. And then she found a new life. It was a nice high class life and whatever. And the only problem with the high class life was the 3-year-old, 4-year-old that she had. This kid was so advanced. Like she thought like an 8-year-old. So by the time when I met her and she was like 4.5, she told me the story very, very clearly, better than I'm explaining it. Like she's crazy, brilliant, beautiful little proper little girl telling me, because I was like maybe 16 at the time or 15 at the time, and I used to sit like I was sitting there with my legs crossed, and she told me, "You don't sit with your legs spread. A lady sits with her legs crossed, ma'am." I was like, "Excuse you," with her little southern accent. She killed me when I met her. She just killed me. But anyway, so this is what her mom did. Now, my cousin, so the daddy didn't want her. This was made clear at the beginning, and the mom decided to, keep the pregnancy anyway and have the baby. But again, her new fiance and her new lush life only wanted her as long as she didn't have the kid. She drove her kid from New York to North Carolina, knocked on my cousin's door and said, "Here's your kid," and left. No preparation, no warning. He was not set up for a child. He's a bachelor. Okay. At the time, actually, he was living in a mostly run down, broke down mansion because basically he was trying to renovate that mansion for himself. He had a couple businesses. One was a restaurant. One was basically building sunrooms and stuff like that for other people. And so this place was just, by the time we got there, a year and a half later, it was still broke down and gross in a lot of places. And by the time we got there, this very small child was basically raising herself at 5. Like she didn't know what she was doing. So like she had a bar of Dove soap, right? And she would fill this filthy, you should have seen this tub. This tub was like charcoal black around it. And she would fill that with water and bathe herself in it because she didn't know what else to do. She didn't know that she's supposed to even clean the tub. And then she would wash her panties and her clothes for school, everything with this one bar of Dove soap. So we were horrified. Now we're staying there for the summer and we took care of her while we were there. And then we told my cousin, we're like, we'll take her. I have a sister the same age as her. So our lives are already set up to deal with her, so
Okay.
we want to take her. Me and my mom, we talked about, we wanted to take her. I'm like, I will watch her every day after school. I'll bring her to and from school. I'll bring her to and from my grandmother's house so she can hang out with my sister, who is not my mom's kid. And everything was set up and we took her. I mean, we didn't steal her. Like he said, yes, right? And we had her for like, it was a really good time. And then Thanksgiving came. He came to visit his kid. And on the last day, we left him alone for a few hours, came back to a note, and he said, "She's my daughter and I miss her." And he took her back. But he didn't want her. So in that time, let's see, he found a wife had 5 children with that wife. Now the wife's not going to live in the broke down mansion. So he bought the wife a house, but the wife doesn't like his kid. So he left his kid in the mansion, but she's a small child. So he left a grown up man to watch his kid who sexually abused her, amongst other things, like every day of her life. Totally. And then whenever she tried to get help or food, because there's just like moldy cheese inside the fridge and whatever, his wife, the new wife, would beat the living daylights out of her. Not how she treats her own kids. I think that she ends up having 6 or 7 by the end of it. And finally, a teacher, when she's 15, it's like almost 10 years later, notices, like, okay, this is not good. Do you have any family? She said, yeah, I have my auntie and my cousin in Canada. And they called us and asked us if we take her. And we said yes. He said no. Guess who won? Even though he's not watching her. Do you think anyone got prosecuted? No. So at 17, when she ran away, and then she ends up eventually getting arrested for some type of crime because she has no money or a way to feed herself. She went to prison for several years, and she actually hit the newspaper for a very stupid scheme eventually. And now she's come out. And it looks like, she's trying to turn her life around and whatever. And the whole story just, I had to tell it really fast because it just breaks my heart. Breaks my heart because her mother threw her away. Her mother chose to keep her. You chose to keep that baby. You chose to have it. Then you chose to keep it with you. That's on you. You're a piece of garbage because you threw away your kid for a man. I'm sorry. Like, that's why I'm like, I can't have any sympathy for you. I don't want you to win. I don't want to help you. I don't think you should win because you threw your kid away. And this is what happens. The story I just told is not a rare one when you put kids into the system, because that's basically what you're doing to your kid. I don't care who you left your kid with. That's what you're doing. That's what happens to unloved, unwatched kids. This is what happens to them. She doesn't have a father because you had a kid. You had a kid with a man who doesn't stay in the picture. Now she doesn't have a mother. What do you think happens to kids like that? Well, you think that they just grow up and they're fine? You don't care. You don't deserve to be happy, and you definitely don't deserve to start a family with a whole nother person and create more children when you are in this state. I'm sorry, you don't. Like, you need to seek counseling because you are just going to break people around you and continue to do it because you don't see how broken your mindset is. You don't see how broken you are. You have no business making children. You have no business getting married to anyone else. You don't. I'm sorry.
Well, the mindset of someone who thinks that it's so easy to just erase a person and act like that person never existed. I have a big problem with that. I have a very soft spot for children because children are innocent, children are helpless, and children rely and depend on adults to care for them. They rely on adults for everything in life, for food, for shelter, for clothing, for all of that. And when you make a decision to have a child, because I mean, let's just keep it a buck. There are ways not to have children. And if it gets to the point where you are pregnant with a child and you don't want the said child, there are things that you can do to put that child in a better place. You don't selfishly keep the kid, and then when it's convenient for you, oh, I don't want it anymore. Let me just shuffle this kid over to the side because I need to think about me. No, you should have thought about me yourself at the beginning. Once you have a kid, that's irreversible.
Yep.
That is irreversible unless, some divine intervention comes in and says, you know what, you are no longer going to be a parent. This child is on you as a loan, and now it's time for me to take this child back. But when you make that decision, I mean, that is a lifelong decision. You don't get to change your mind. It's permanent.
Yeah.
And I just have a problem with that. I have a problem with men who walk away from their children. And I don't give a damn how difficult the mother is, because she wasn't that difficult when you was laying down with her. So you need to figure out a way to deal with her and to be in that child's life. But when
Mhm.
the mother, if the father is not there, and then the mother says, "Oh, you know what? I don't want to do this no more. I'm about to start all over here." This is not a freaking card game. You don't just put the
Right.
cards back in the deck and reshuffle and get a new hand. It does not work that way.
Nope. Nope. But the fact that she, like, I mean, she wrote this letter, right? Like, we have to recognize she wrote this letter. I'm sure she reread it several times. She's been thinking about this. I'm sure she's asked friends and family and stuff. And she doesn't see anything wrong with what she said, because she ends the letter with, like, how do I get this guy to marry me? Like, do you not see that your your priorities are so broken right now? And I mean, I'm positive that we could say some really extreme stuff and she would try it, because that's how desperate she is for a man. And I'm sure this man has whatever the heck qualities, money, and
Yeah.
family, and all the stuff that, I guess, she's 6 feet tall, body, all the right stuff or whatever. And I don't think she understands, like, you can't convince someone to marry you, even I if she, just as who she is right now. And I'm not saying she is a bad person before all of the terrible life choices she's made. I'm just saying that, given who she is, the person he's interacting with and whatever, right? If you take away the fact that she was married, you take away the fact that she has a kid, he doesn't want to marry you. He doesn't. That's what it comes down to. Why? Because you're not right for him. And your desperation, because it reads from the letter, tells me you really actually know that. And so you have been trying to fake the funk your whole relationship, trying to make yourself into the kind of woman he would want to marry, but you don't know what that is. And you think it's like a one size fits all. Well, if I could just be hot enough, and I could just be, single enough, and I could just be this enough, and I could just be that enough, well, then he'll want to marry me. Like, you don't understand that, like, I don't care what foolishness you're hearing elsewhere. He has to like you, and you guys have to actually bond on a real deep level. Like, do you actually have deep, long conversations into the night? Do you actually have, not your fake persona, but your real one? Do you actually have things in common? You know what I mean? Do you guys generally catch yourselves off guard? Shocking each other with laughs, or shock, or oh my god, like, do you actually have a real bond? Are you really actually in love? Or are you just desperate for some image of a wedding and a successful relationship you can brag to all your friends about? Because that's not what marriage is supposed to be about.
And what type of respect does she, let's just be real, what type of respect does she even have for herself?
Mm,
Um, she says in the letter, he's a great catch.
mm-hmm.
A great catch is going to love my one child or my 10 kids, if that's what I had. A great
Right.
catch is going to love all of that. But she already does not have any respect for herself, because she let this man, the image of this man, and the family that he comes from, be the deciding factor on what she was going to do with her kid.
Right.
Yeah, and I don't see how any of that would work. Because some things that I'm looking at is, you had the child, he knows about her, this is a daughter, and he's not saying anything about, well, I don't hear where he's saying anything
Mm-hmm.
except for what others are saying.
Right.
That's what I'm looking at. I'm like, well, what is this guy thinking? I
Mm-hmm.
don't see anything where he's clarifying, well, I would do this, but A, B, C, and D. I
Right.
was thinking this, but, you know, A, B, C, and D.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In fact, the family might have been trying to scare away because they thought she was too lowbrow or whatever. And then she started making all these harebrained decisions. And then he watched her movements and went, I don't like that. And
Mhm.
maybe that's why he hasn't proposed yet. Maybe that's why he hasn't married you yet. because of decisions you made when someone shook you a little bit, because you're not standing on a solid foundation. You don't know who you are. You don't know what you're about. You don't stand for anything. Um, I mean, and you hear, I have heard men complain when women say, well, me and my daughter, or me and my son, we're a package deal, right? I've heard people complain about that, but my mom said that. That's what it was. Off the bat, if you had an issue with the fact that A, she had a kid, B, that that kid was very central to her life, and C, me liking whoever she was gonna, marry was incredibly important. Like, she was never marrying someone who didn't like me, that I didn't like, whatever. If you had a problem with that, well, you can go find someone else. She didn't care. That's how she saw it.
And that's the way that it should be. That's the way that
Right.
it should be. That child has nobody else. Yeah, other family members, a grandparent. But at the end of the day, like you say, what statement are you making that you're going to shuffle your kid off to another relative so that you can bag this man who, quote
Hmm.
unquote, is a great catch and whose family actually doesn't think, very much of you?
Right. Exactly. And I mean, the fact that she, like you said, like, she hasn't mentioned anything really about what this guy has said at all. It's almost like he's irrelevant. Like, he's just like a pawn. Like, it reminds me almost of stories where it's like, back in the days where, there's just like a princess and she was like for sale to the highest bidder. No one asked her. Like, that's what this seems like to me. Like, what, is he not part of the discussion? The mom, the parents are saying all this stuff about you. How do you know that? Are they saying it directly to you? Are they telling him and then he tells you? Does he say anything back? Does he defend you? Like, do you care what his response is at all, or do you just think that's irrelevant? Like, do you even understand that it's actually what he says about it, not what they say about it, that's most important? Like, I don't think she understands relationships really, which is sad because she's been married and divorced. So you would hope that she had learned some valuable lessons from that. It, I, I don't know. How did she not learn lessons about relationships, how they're supposed to work? What are you supposed to prioritize? I think she really needs, like, when I say she needs therapy, other than the fact that, like, I'm trying real hard to be objective. I am.
Uh-huh.
That's why I have to just take the kid part out of it. That's why I said it. I figure if I can vent it out, okay, I can stop for a second. Um, but
Okay.
yeah, no, I really,
Mhm.
man, like, to me, she's my cousin's mama, and that's who I'm talking to right now. So I'm trying to be objective. Um, but no, this is why I say it. I really think she needs to seek therapy, like, for real therapy. And work on herself and work on, I don't know what in life told her that this was normal. I don't know if it's that she's extremely insecure. I don't know if it's that she was in an abusive relationship, maybe, and her self-esteem and identity is based on what other people think of her, and she hasn't healed from that. Like, I don't know what's causing this. I just know it's not normal, and she really needs to work through it.
Well, to me, it all sounds very superficial. And, yeah, she says, oh, and I really, really love him. But, in the same breath, he's a great catch and he comes from a great family. And the way I started off, in my life is not conducive to what his family feels he should be with. Is so, I mean, is he like, a Kennedy and his family is going to dictate to him, okay, this is the type of person you should marry, they shouldn't be this, they shouldn't be that. I mean, what does he say? I mean, he has to live his own life. So this man has got to be sitting back looking at this woman and like, okay, you're really going to do that? So at this point I'm thinking that, she is, it's past love. This woman is trying to secure a bag for her future. She struck, out on the first try and she's like, bump that. I'm going to succeed on this next one. This guy is a great catch. Apparently this kid is in the way. His family, doesn't feel like this kid is conducive to, what's good for the family. So I'm going to push this kid to the side and I'm about to move in. This is what's about to be for me. So it just sounds to me like she's willing to do whatever she can to marry this man and give him a couple of babies and secure this bag. That's what it sounds like to me, that she's trying to secure a financial future for herself at the cost and expense of her child.
If the child was included, if it was supposed to be a family, that's what we're supposed to do. We have a child, okay, we're supposed to provide for our child. We're supposed to be a family unit. Then I can see her working with him, but the child is included. You can't exclude the child. You just can't.
Not at 8 years old. It's like, that's what I'm saying. This is just crazy. Now this kid is supposed to be like, oh, wait, now I'm no more mom anymore, And again, you have to look at the whole story. What kind of life has this child been living with mom anyway? If mom, has always been, putting men before the child. So is this the first man that mom has put before the child?
Probably not.
It's kind of hard to believe that this is, I would venture to think that she's done this before, but now she stumbled upon, quote unquote, what she considers to be this great catch. And now it's like, oh no, I'm about to shuffle this 8-year-old, up underneath the magazines. She's about to go to the back, and I just think that is horrible. I think that is horrible. And this woman is not going to have any good luck, because she is shucking her responsibilities the same way that the father did. And I don't know the full story with the father, but the father is not in the child's life for whatever reason. So if the father, has passed away, that's a different story. But if the father just, walked away or is in jail, either way, those are choices that the father made to not be in that child's life. And then you turn around and you choose a man over your child. And that's all you're thinking about. Didn't hear anything about, oh, I love, my child. And this is tearing me up to even think that I have to part, from my baby girl. That wouldn't even be a thought. It'd be like, okay, I'm cool. If you ain't cool with this, then it's time to walk away, because my child is not going anywhere. The child is a package deal. I am the other parent. So there's no way I'm not going to ever not be this child's parent. So the child's not going anywhere. It is a package deal. Like it or not, you're knowing this up front. So if you don't want to date me anymore, then don't date me anymore, because my child is not going anywhere.
Right. Period. Point blank. I mean, honestly, being real, my mom threw me away for Jesus for like a hot minute there, but she never threw me away for a man. Like, I'm trying to, and my mom was like a teen mom, but like I'm trying to imagine a world where she literally would have actually picked a man over me at any point in my life. Like, I can't imagine that world, because that was like, it was such an important factor for her. Now, she didn't have like men coming in and out of the house or whatever, except for when it was like already serious. And then it was like, hey, want to meet my friend? And at first just meeting a friend, like her fiance she was with for a long time. She actually bought the house together with and whatnot. That was like a, hey, want to be my friend? And he ended up being like my buddy. We were like best friends. He had like some recording equipment, and so like real equipment. So we used to record and like rap and stuff, yeah. And like we made a doll together. Like, he was cool. That was really important to her. We went camping, we went this, we went that. That was always very important to my mom. And to me, though, that made her not less attractive to men. And it's not like, oh, we're talking about bums my mom dated or whatever. No, she didn't. It made it more attractive to her, to people, to see her being nurturing and motherly. So they got to see her as a woman and whatever. And they also got to see what she was like as a nurturer, and they got to see how she balances the two. So because she did that well, and they liked to see it, it made her more appealing, not less appealing. They were like, ooh, yeah, maybe I could marry her, maybe she'll have more kids for me. That's something that, as a man, if a woman has already been married, and she's already had children, then it doesn't do well by you for you to throw that kid away. It doesn't. It does better for you. And this is not me trying to tell you to use your kid as an accessory, because I have a feeling that's what you'll try to do. But if you had done this, if you actually had invested in yourself and invested in your kid before ever touching this relationship, then watching you love your daughter, and invest in her, and show her how important she is, just period, not to impress him, but just because she actually is, and him seeing that, and seeing that good relationship, seeing your parenting skills above all, that
Right.
would have impressed him more than any of the foolishness I'm sure you've tried. And
Wow.
the parents too, and the parents. My best friend, the year that I got married, at that point she had literally said, oh, I'm not open to love, and I'll never find Mr. Right. But then she had started thinking about who Mr. Right was, and she kind of like wrote down like a list in her head of, oh well, I like tall men, and I want a man who's this, that, and like she literally described it in her head. And it was 4 months after my wedding. We were literally in Jamaica having my other friend's wedding, and she just wasn't able to get the time off of work. So she was really disappointed about that. And into her church walked Mr. Right. Like literally just walked in, and she's like, "Oh my God." And she was elbowing one of her girlfriends in church, right? She's like, that's the guy I was just describing to you yesterday. And they're like, "Yeah, it is." And he's basically it works out to being a lawyer in Jamaica though. But he's a pastor of his own church, and he was actually young. It's not like he's like 50 or something. He's young, unmarried, no children, and the whole church was in love with him. Like every single woman, some of the married ones loved this man. Like he was gorgeous, right? And very tall. And so it was like this whole thing. And then he actually was visiting because he had a friend inside the church, and he contacted her and said, listen, I want to speak to the woman who had the child, the young boy. And so basically she's trying to figure out which one he was talking about. So he said, well, the light skinned one or the dark skinned one? And he said, oh, the dark skinned one. And he's like, okay, that's this one. Okay, great. And come to find out, the reason why he was fixated on her, he said the whole entire service was because of her parenting. He saw that she didn't raise her voice, she didn't hit him, she didn't yell and scream and whatever, and she saw that he obeyed, and he was a happy, lovely child, very respectful. Everyone loved him. My godson is the greatest. Anyway, point is though, yeah, and so he said, I want that woman to have my kids, right? And she
Yeah.
has. She had the girl first, and then she just had his boy 3 months ago. So I mean, you choose these. So he married her. So yes, even though he was a pastor in the church and blah blah blah, he married
Hmm.
this single mother who had a child out of wedlock, right? Very quick to put a ring on her finger, very quick to marry her, very quick to snap her up. So, I mean, I'm not just saying it. Like, I'm not just saying, oh, I'm sure he would have. No, these things actually happen. So the fact that you've thrown away kind of a big part of like womanhood in a way. Sorry for people who don't want to have children, but I mean, it is for, a lot of, it's a big thing that men are considering when they're thinking about marriage, especially when you're of a certain age, right? To just throw the product of that away. Like, it does never matter to you. But you literally told him like your priorities are probably not what a guy like him is looking for.
Yeah, I don't suspect that this man is going to marry her. The fact that she's even writing this letter shows that she has like some distress. Like, what do I do to get this man to marry me? Child, you walk away. That's what you do. You need to just walk away, because I don't know the dynamics of this relationship, but obviously this man is dealing with you for whatever reason. She hasn't given any, insight into what his opinion and what his feelings are. But
Yeah.
if his family sees what she's saying that they see, this fool got to see it too, and then some, because he's with her. Yeah.
I just look at this from what the guy is saying. And I just think of women because they're gossipy more so than a man. And I personally don't like that trait. So with him telling her these things, I'm just thinking of two things. Either he's gossipy, or two, he's really just giving you some excuses because he doesn't want to go any further than what he has with you. That's the only two things I'm thinking of.
So he's blaming it on his family, you think?
Yeah,
Mm. Did
that
she
or he's
say how
gossipy.
long? Did she say how long she's been with him?
No.
Right. Of course not. Because I mean that does matter. I mean, is this actually even a real relationship? Like, has she ever met the parents? Because that can make all the difference. I've been watching a lot of like old school, after school special type shows, like say Sister Sister, stuff like that. And parents will speak out of turn. They will speak out of turn when they decide, I just don't think you're good enough for my child, right? My boy, my girl, whatever it is. So like This Is Us, actually, the kind of parents, which is like the ultimate love story in This Is Us. At one point, that's exactly what the father does to the young man who's dating
Mhm.
his daughter, because they're all rich and he's just kind of like not at all, from the rougher side of town. And you know she's thinking, oh, we're all in love, and oh, he's impressing my parents. And then she goes to the bathroom or whatever, and then he just basically says, you will never marry my daughter, you're not good enough for her. And he says it enough times that one day the guy believes him, right? So is it the parents that are just directly speaking to her? Are they actually in a real relationship? Or is it coming from the guy? Like, we don't really know because she's not telling a complete story. Like, she needs to fill in some of those gaps, I guess, to really properly answer.
Mhm. I take it's coming from him.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, it could be. I mean, I don't even know what kind of relationship is this. Because, I mean, she's like, why won't he marry me? How to make him marry me? But, like, is he dating you? Is he your boyfriend? Like, is he actually your man? Because I'm not even sure if that's what it is. Is she no? Because literally these days people get all crazy and they go from 0 to 100. So
Real quick.
there are, right. So they want to jump across the steps. Like, hey, we have 3 dates. I kept the 3 date rule before I slept with him, and then he actually called me the next day. Oh my God, I think we're gonna get married. And now it's been a month and he's still not marrying me. Why aren't you marrying me?
Oh Lord.
Right?
But
Like,
yeah, there are some people that yeah. You're right.
yeah, right? I mean, it sounds a little bit crazy. But because you can't imagine that people would go from 0 to 100 like that, but you definitely see that and again, like, your desperation is showing. And if you start bringing that up or hinting too early, you are literally driving that man to the other side of the ocean. There's no way he would marry someone who is, thinking about marriage long before you guys have reached that stage. Like, have you said I love you? You know, uh, Done a holiday together, for example. Are you at least close to living together? Like, you spend most nights at each other's houses. Has he walked by, like, have you guys walked in the mall together, for example? You walk by like a ring store, and then he goes, baby, let's walk in here real quick. I just want to see what some of these look like on you, or what's your opinion, right? I mean, there there's kind of like a progression relationships take
Yeah.
when a man definitely wants to marry you, when it's on his head and he's really thinking about it. And did you go through any of those stages? If you haven't, then you shouldn't be trying to worry about how to make this man marry you. Like, you should be worried about, like, how do you make this man even start considering you as marriage material? And then you need to wonder, well, why doesn't he?
Mm.
It's not right. It's not something you earn. You don't earn marriage material to a particular man over time. Like, you're not going to be with him, and maybe the fourth
Right.
year, this fourth
Mhm.
year, the seventh year, 11th year is the charm. Like, it, like,
Give it up after a decade. I'm here to
Oh
tell you, give it up.
Lord, oh
Give it
Lord
up. Dun,
Jesus.
dun, dun. Oh, sorry.
Right? Sure. For all we know, she's basically a booty call at this point, and which I'm very concerned about because I think she really might be. I think she might be low key delusional, and she's been pre planning. So she kind of found a really hot booty call who's actually also, a good catch, as she says, right? And so she's pre-planned, preemptively. She's thrown away her kid, preemptively. She's probably changed her whole entire look because one time he said he likes girls' hair Halle Berry short or something. Like, yeah, it's like that's what she strikes me as, right? Is desperate. It's that desperation, and I don't mean desperation necessarily to find a man, like as far as to find sex, but desperation to have a particular dream life or particular fantasy. Her marriage already fell apart. That clearly was not the fantasy it was supposed to be, and that's what she's looking for. She's looking for the wedding and the romance and the perfect marriage so all of her friends could be jealous and she could say, I told you so. I told you I would get myself a high quality man. I told you blah blah blah. That's what I feel like.
Yeah, but even in that, if you have some true friends, they will be asking you about what's up with you and your daughter. Why are you
Mm,
doing this? Why did you do it? If it's, past tense and they just finding out about it.
right.
So if you have some true friends, they'll talk to you about that. If they just gonna stand by and just look at you, now they're just talking about you behind your back saying, wow, look what she did just to get a husband or this man and her poor daughter, or I wonder what's happening with her daughter.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that's anything to be proud about personally.
Yeah, no. But women like this, I find, right? Women who kind of quote unquote get rid of their children
Uh-huh.
to attract new men also get rid of competition. So they tend not to have a lot of female friends and they tend not to
Mm.
be close to female members of their family who are competition at all, right? Because, if you're in a group of a bunch of women, when Mr. Perfect walks by, you might not be his type, but the chick next to you might be. So to avoid that, you just don't have a chick next to you. And then you're the only option. So she might be that kind. That's all I'm saying.
Well, that's a mess in itself. It,
Ain't he
it,
though?
it, this that's too much. I'll even be thinking like that, but okay. I know it exists. I'm not even going to say I don't know it exists, but
I know.
that's a bit much.
I know. It's so tragic. Tragic.
Right.
Tragic.
Exactly. Tragic.
It's very tragic, and this woman is setting herself up for some serious disappointment. Um, this man is not going to marry her, and as stated before, if she's getting the information regarding his family and how his family feels about her, and she's getting this information from him, he's just telling her that. I mean, it may be true, but my thing is that um I wouldn't want to be with a man who was dictated to by his family. So you don't get to live your life the way you want to. Your family tells you how to live, unless quote unquote this is such a connected and such a prestigious family. Then, she's probably not the one. She isn't the one. She's the in the meantime chick. You know,
Yep.
there is such a thing as in the meantime, because when you're the present, you're in the meantime, and he's looking for that other perfect chick. So he's telling you right now, hey, you already got a kid, and you were married, so you're really not it, but I really 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 like you, and my family is not feeling you, but I really like you, but my hands are tied with you know with my family, because we can't change that. And she's, oh, I'll do whatever I can to, to clean it up and dress it up and make it right because you're such a great catch. This man don't want her on a permanent basis. She's the in the meantime chick, and he's just dealing with what he needs to deal with her in the meantime.
Right. At the very, I still feel like that's like at the best, because she still might just be less than on the meantime. Like I don't know if she gets dates. I don't know, because she didn't mention it really. Like I would have loved to hear. I mean, sure, he's a catch, right? He's a catch, but and then she just went into all of that, but she didn't really talk about like why he's a catch and how he treats her personally, and or how long they've been together for. Like she didn't qualify this relationship enough for me to feel like it's a relationship. It She really didn't. And the thing is, she might not know the difference though. I'm not sure if she does. She might be one of those people who married her high school sweetheart. And so, it's just like because okay, I'm trying to give her some credit that at some point she was a person that I wouldn't despise. So, no, I really am. I am. I'm trying so hard. So, maybe she was dating this guy in high school, maybe she got pregnant. Once they finished high school, they decided to do the right thing, get married. And that's just how that happened. Like she has no idea how else you get a man to marry you except for trapping with the baby. I mean, she didn't do that on purpose the first time, but that's how she got the ring. So how do you do without this? The second thing is I feel like she's leaving information out. So I feel like she's leaving out very pertinent details about this family, and why they're not accepting of her, or why he's a catch. So there's no description about him. Like
And I'm only filling in the blanks. The reason I think that he may be a catch is because his family has to be somewhat prominent. Now, his family is not, king and queens of the project. So that's not what she's trying to be,
Right.
a project princess. So it just sounds to me like, that they have a little bit of affluence, somewhere. And the fact that they have the nerve to even look down on her because she has another child from a previous relationship. That just does not fit in with our scheme of things,
right.
And I don't even think I've ever dated a man that could even utter those words. Well, my family feels like, since you had a child, it's like, wait a minute, you are not Barack Obama. It's like, who are we talking about here? What is really going on with this whole thing? It just sounds like she's trying to fit herself into this, society cookie cutter type, existence, because quote unquote she missed out on with the first kid, so she's gonna try to catch it on the second one because time is running out. She's not getting any younger, and she needs to get this catch while she's still got the body to catch.
Well, another thing I wonder. I mean, honestly, I don't know why. It started playing in my head a little while ago, but I mean, is she hiding a detail? Like, for example, is this an interracial relationship? Is he a white man, or is he maybe a biracial man? I just when you say catch and you just leave it at the word catch, I feel like if you don't qualify it, you're hiding something. So based on that, I'm going to answer that question. If he is a white or a biracial man, and the family, quote unquote, has a problem with you being divorced or having a child, what that basically means is both him and his family have stereotyped you, i.e., bias, racism, and made you a statistic. They would not see a white woman who was divorced with a child as a statistic, because I mean divorces happen and blah blah blah. But they can stereotype us unfairly. And so I feel like in that case, because actually I've had this conversation with some white men where they a single mother to them, especially one of not their own race, they see as a good time. She for sure puts out. I've literally heard that statement. Well, she for sure puts out. Ha 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 ha. So if that's the case, then
Mm.
what he's low key telling you is it's not gonna happen. Like that's he's telling you that there's not a way you could debase yourself. There's not a thing you could try to give him. There is no magical purchase price. You can't buy him. He's not he's not for sale. I mean he is kind of, but he's not for sale. That's basically what he was saying, not to you. Yeah. Not for you, unfortunately. Um that was one thing I was thinking. It just seems to me like there's something she's hiding. I feel maybe it's just because I feel like she's a deceptive, horrible person because of what she did, but I feel like she's hiding something, man.
Well,
Well,
neither one of them seemed like a catch to me.
Mm-mm.
Um, this dude cannot stand up to his family, in order to just quote unquote date the woman that he loves, if he loves her. And she can't, stand up to motherhood and just say, hey, I'm a mother first. I came into this situation with this child, and I there's no choice between a man who is not the father of my child and my child that has been existing and coexisting with me for the last 8 years. That's a no-brainer. That is a complete no-brainer. I'm so baffled. I'm so baffled that this woman she's like torn. Like, what do I do? I've given up the child, and now what do I do to get this man to marry you?
Mm.
Marry me. It's just I'm so taken aback by that. I really am. But I guess, those people do exist, you know,
oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and it's
Yeah.
sad. It's sad for the child, because she's gonna have to deal with that rejection from her mother for the rest of her life. And you don't know how she's going to act out with the rejection.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's like, and I can't imagine, because I was not rejected, by my parents. My parents always showed that they loved and wanted me, and I've never felt that. So to me, to even hear it, I'm like, what? A mother did that? I'm shocked. I am just
Hmm.
so shocked.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Well, you think about it. I mean, the fact that she did this says a lot, not just about right now in this child's life, but probably this child's entire life, right? Because someone who has been a doting, caring, nurturing mother does not just suddenly take their 8-year-old and drop them off like at the pound. Be like, sorry, but we've had a good run, right? Like, you don't do that when it's unnecessary. You don't do that for your own benefit unless that's how you've always seen this kid generally. They're a prop, maybe. They're you maybe you thought that, being nice to the kid or having the kid around was a way to try to keep the man that you couldn't keep. And kids internalize these messages very early. So even if you don't realize that's the message that you're sending to your kid, that, your marriages live or die on her shoulders. So if, your relationships fail, it's her fault. She's not good enough. She's taking away from your life. She's ruined your life. She's already internalized all of that. And you've already kind of taken away her ability to, bond in an emotional way with people, because that's the thing you kind of get from moms, and then you threw her away. So basically, then after all of that, you told her that no matter what she does, it's not good enough. She's not good enough. And then you have the daddy issues that are going to come in because he's not in the picture. So she has no idea what non-sexual attention and love from men looks like. And so, I mean, that's not a good combination. It's not a good combination for a child. At the very least, I mean, if this woman wins her grimy little quest, at the very least, please take a bunch of money and put it aside and start paying for your child's therapy from now. I don't know who she's staying with, that you can get that access, but please do it because she deserves, at the very least, to have someone help her so she can be way more well adjusted than you deserve for her to be, because she deserves better than this.
Yes, the grandparents. But that child is going to know about it. I mean, even if she were just to come by when the child is not around, let's say she's going to avoid her. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
fine. You can't get, you can't erase that um, away because the parents, the grandparents are going to like, oh, Vicky, blah, 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 blah. And she's going to hear her mother name and like, what? Mom was around? Mom called? Mom wrote? Or whatever, the situation is. So they're always going to, it's nothing you can do. You can't disappear from the child's life totally
Right.
because she's in the life of her grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yep.
know one thing. If there is no family that I was in that, a grandmother would not be like, oh, so you just gonna just leave this child with me? You gonna give up your child to go be with this man? Where was the talk? I mean, did her mom have that talk or that fuss her out? Or I'm just
Mm-hmm.
I'm stumped. I mean, I know this happens, but it's like, did anybody
Right.
say anything to her? Because her main focus in this letter is, okay, well, I've gotten rid of the child. Now, what do I do to get this man to marry me?
Yeah, that's what she said. She literally said, I got rid of my kid and I have very little to do with her. But still the parents won't accept me. How do I, like, wait, what? How do, how do you go from one to the other? Like, how does she, what? Like, where's, oh my God. Oh, count to 10, Ruby, count to 10. Oh, like I can't imagine. Was there ever, okay, let's ask Fonda. Because you're the only mother on this panel. So let me ask you, Vonda,
Mm-hmm.
was there ever a point in time, even if it was briefly, where you considered literally dropping your kid off somewhere and just not coming back to get her? Just saying, you know what? I don't need you right now. Like, and by right now, I mean ever. I don't want you anymore. Like, I, I mean, because people say like there's teething, there's this, there's that, there's all these things that happen with kids that make them intolerable sometimes. Was there ever a moment for you where that happened?
Absolutely not.
Hmm.
Right.
I was young when I had my child, but I thought everyone thought like this, but in my mindset, the way that I thought of it was that, the good, the bad, and the ugly, I'm going to take it because that's what parenting is about. I had grown up around children, so I knew about changing diapers. I knew about teething. I knew about the terrible twos. I knew about the tantrums. But that's interchangeable because it does not happen with every child.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that when you had a kid, it's like, okay, well, I've signed this contract, I've made this commitment. This kid didn't ask to be born, so therefore I need to sacrifice my life to give this child the best life they possibly could have. It's not a matter of, okay, how can I get mine? And I'll think about the child second. Yes, the parent does have to be taken care of, because if the mother is not okay, the kid's not going to be okay. We hear that all the time. And that is true. You do have to take care of yourself, but you make the ultimate sacrifice when you carry a child in your body. You make the ultimate sacrifice because giving birth to a child is the closest that a woman will come to dying.
Mm-hmm.
You're between life and death with the child. Your body changes. Could one day have the baddest body of your time, to having this kid and be like, oh my God, these stretch marks are horrendous.
Right.
But that is that's a part of your womanhood. That's a part of your badge that you carry as a woman, because I had this child. I nurtured this baby within my body. And then for me to give birth to this kid and pass it off to someone else, for me, that is a no. And then to have this kid and have this kid all attached to me, calling me mom, and I done given this kid the foundation of their life. And at 8 years old, oh, okay, you're not going to be waking up with me every morning anymore. You're going to be at grandma's house. What? That to me, that makes no sense. That is something that happens if the mother dies. She should be dead,
Right.
For that decision to be made. But I do think that if she was going to have this child and she was going to resent this child because she felt like this kid was holding her back, then her best bet is to, quote unquote, give this child up. And this kid will feel rejection, but give this child up, to be nurtured and cared for by someone else. But we do have to keep in mind, the kid already knows who you are. And the kid knows, on Tuesday I was with mom, and now on Wednesday I'm with grandma, never to wake up in the house with mom again. That's traumatic.
Exactly.
That's traumatic. But in that instance, it's like, okay, the kid is better off, with the grandparent. But I feel like the parents, you make the ultimate sacrifice. And if you cannot make that ultimate sacrifice as a parent, don't have the kid. Don't freaking have the kid, because you send that kid through years of therapy or whatever issues that kid is going to carry for the rest of their lives.
Right. Or do the unselfish thing. And when your kid is still a baby, baby, and you realize, yeah, this is not going to be for me, put your child up for adoption. Right? To a family, two-parent home, a family that is going to give this child both a mother and a father that love them and want to spoil them and want to invest in them because they want a kid. Right? You don't wait until a kid's 8 years old and then basically at that point they're unadoptable. Because no one wants to adopt no 8-year-old. And then what, you could put them in the foster system, give them to their grandma until grandma can't take care of them anymore, then they're in the foster system. I mean, because we don't have a lot of details about, like, where did this kid actually go? We don't actually know, right? The father's not in the picture, so kid didn't go there. But, like, did this kid go to grandma, auntie, a friend? Did she literally give up her kid? And foster system, but with like an open visitation scenario, like, we don't actually know. And I'm not even sure she cares where her kid is. I'm not, when she says little, I don't think she has anything to do with her kid at all. Like, her kid calls her and she's like, listen, enough, okay, you got to be strong for mama now. Like, she's one of those ones, right? No, you got to be strong for mama now. What mama said, right? Mama said that, if you're a good girl, then good things happen to you because Jesus loves you. Okay, baby? Okay? Okay. Mama's got to go, though. Okay? She's one of those, right? She just says things like that, and you're just like, ew. That's your 8-year-old. And you're trying to talk her into not crying because you just dropped her off and then you just never coming back, and that's it.
I am of the old school that, what, if you feel like, oh my gosh, I've sacrificed my life for these children, you know what, you don't get your life back until the kid or said children, the youngest, is at the very least 18. If you are so hell-bent on getting, quote unquote, your life back, you do not even think about thinking you can get that life back until that kid is 18. So that is a commitment. That is a freaking commitment. Or I don't want to hear the kid's 11 years old. Well, I gotta live too. Mama needs a life too. I don't want to hear that. And it's like, I didn't see my mom act like that. I mean, my mom was not the nurturer. My dad was more of the nurturer. My mom was the one that, made shit happen. But she made sure her kids were taken care of. My dad was the nurturer and, the one that spent the time with us and played with us, that sort of thing. My mom was about the business. It's like, okay, get your baths, go get your clothes ready, get that done. That's where the love came from. Here's this food, it was nice hot meal cooked, 3 squares every day. We had it. And that's where the love was from my mom. My dad was the time, so, having the two parents, there was a balance there. So I can't imagine my mom just saying, oh, well, damn these kids. My mom, she didn't do that. Now she wasn't the one, oh, come here, let me kiss the little boo-boo. She was like, no, I told you to quit running, go sit down, let's get stuff going. She just made sure we were clean and we were, fed and we were warm, and, we had a nice bed to sleep in. She made sure all of that happened. My dad was the one that was like, hey, I love you kids. You guys are the apples of my eye. Not that we didn't think we were the apple of our mother's eye, but, she had a different, way of showing her love.
Right.
So with the two parenting, approaches, the kids were well-rounded. We had it. And it was like, okay, great. But for a mother, I don't know how you carry a child for 9 months and say, oh, okay, well, you know what? It's time for me to live. Because I could just imagine where I would be if my mom was like, it's time for me to live. It's like, okay, well, wait a minute. Why did you even have me if it's time for you to live? Because there's ways not to have kids, or there's ways to, mitigate the damages to the child by, okay, giving the kid away at a young age. Not when they're 8 freaking years old. 8 years old, what's going on. You feel that rejection.
Right. Well, she must have still been married. I'm either she was with the man that is the father of that child, or married to him already at that point, which is why she kept the kid. And see, I would think that she has some type of mental illness. I'm leaning towards borderline personality disorder. And the reason why I am is because there's two versions of borderline personality disorder that I feel kind of fit into, or histrionic, something in that range that fit into this. And it depends on how they see the kid. So for some of them, for example, if the thing is that kid is going to be, they have the child to love them, right? I'm going to love you more than anything else, but you're going to love me more than anything else. And that's why I'm having a baby. Screw everyone else. I don't care about the father and whatever. I care about the baby, and the baby's going to care about me. That is a different type of relationship. That's the kind of mother that's like a nightmare, but she never wants to let her kid go, right? She has all those symptoms, but she doesn't want to let her kid go because that kid is the only thing loving her, and vice versa. But then you have the version where they pop out a kid, but the kid is a manipulation tool, right? I am having this kid to keep this man. I am having this kid to get sympathy. I am having this kid to get help from people. So as soon as the kid stops paying off, you don't want it anymore, because it's not a person that, even if you see them as a person, it's not like this person is like related to you in a special kind of way. They were just a tool you were using, like a guy who gets puppies to pick up hot chicks in a park, like that. Yeah, and that it's, the more we talk it through, the more I'm getting that kind of vibe, because there's just something not normal about the details she put into the letter and the details she didn't put into the letter. Right? Like her focus, like the man is not a person. She gave us no real human details about him. She gave us no human details about the child, right? They are just manipulation pieces towards what she wants. And then the thing she talked about most is the piece that she feels is standing in her way, i.e. the parents, right? The parents are the problem. The man is irrelevant. He is just a pawn in the game. The kid was just a pawn in a previous game. She's outlived her usefulness. We throw her out. We sacrifice her. That's what she seems like to me. And it's like, again, do you know the man? Anything about him? let's tell me 5 things about him, right? Quick, what color are his eyes? No, like, I mean, if he's
But
black,
she
they're
says
brown.
she loves him. She loves him like so much, and it's like, okay, well, she really, really loves this man. So I'm thinking that, either that love is all in her head, or they have some sort of a substantial relationship and they've spent some substantial amount of time together, that she has this feeling for him, but
Mm,
but what keeps ringing in my head is that he's a great catch. I
yep,
can't let that part go. He's a
right.
great catch, and I love him because he's a great catch.
Mm-hmm. Right? And what does great catch mean? Because if great catch means a whole bunch of monetary things, a whole bunch of tangible things, then does she love him, or does she love the idea of him, the lifestyle he could afford her, the perks in life, the status, the social, the social quota that he can fulfill for her? Like, does she love him, or does she love his stuff?
Well, Chandra says she loves what he can do for her.
Uh, There you go. Exactly,
She loves
Chandra.
what he can
Exactly.
do. And you know what? That sounds about right, Chandra. She loves the standing that she will have being his wife.
Hmm.
Not just
Right.
being the wife of a man, but being his wife in this family, and what that will bring to her.
Right. E- Exactly.
And but still, the child is known. It's not like no one knows about the child. So I just don't see them accepting her as the wife, nor him either. I just
Mm.
don't see it.
Well, like, not the parents, but she doesn't care about his parents. She couldn't care less about that whole family. She doesn't care about her own family. She doesn't care about the family she physically produced, right? She doesn't care about the family. She cares about his business associates and their wives, right? And she cares. I mean, who knows? Maybe we don't know where in high society we're guessing he's from. So is it business? Is he, from his dad was an NBA star? We don't know, right? But what she wants, that she wants to be up in the upper echelon. Like, who knows if she even wants to stay with this man long term, or if that's like a 5-year plan she's got before she's able to, like, monkey branch. I hate using terms from, foolishness sometimes, but yeah, monkey branch up, because it's true, right? That's what it strikes me as. If she got a better offer,
A better
she
catch.
would go there. Yeah, a better catch, she'd go there, right?
Yeah,
So,
if she got a better catch, would she drop off his 2 kids that, let's say they do get married, and she finds a better catch? Would she just drop his 2 kids to, like you say, monkey branch to the next great deal?
ex- exactly. That's all he can see, and that's all the family will see, and that's all anyone who's paying attention will see. Is that's what she's willing to do. This dude is way better than the first one. So therefore, the first one's child is disposable. You just throw her away. So whatever kids he has with you, when you find your next best catch, whatever kids y'all produce, disposable. And so on. What man wants a woman who literally sees his kids as disposable after the fact? Like, that's not an attractive quality. Like, it can't be.
Well,
You think,
for
right?
me,
You think about that question about, nature versus nurture. I don't know what made this woman into this. I think, though, because I always think to myself when I hear about young women, or young men doing really messed up stuff, I always think to myself, someone must have shown you to do this. Like, and then that's why it makes me wonder, is it the grandma actually watching this kid, or is it someone else? Because it makes me feel like she's seen this type of behavior her whole life, and that's why she thinks it's normal for her to do it now. And that's why no one's objecting. That's why there's not this issue of, what are you trying to do, girl? No, I'm not taking your kid. You better hold on to your kid. That's yours, right? Like, maybe this is just normal in her family, because this is something the mom did and the grandma did and the great grandma did and the great grandma, you know what I mean? Like, maybe this is normalized for them because this dysfunctional behavior was passed down over time.
Well, you know what? I'm just gonna, speak personally, just in my family, there were mothers in the family, who did not raise their children. They were in a bad way. The father wasn't there and they needed help. So in those situations, they left their children with other family members. And then I saw other family members that, come hell or high water, they did not leave their kids. So I actually saw both. And for me, it was like, there's just no way I would ever leave my child. Um,
Right.
you know, I saw my mother, she didn't have, a perfect life with my father. And when things went bad and she left my dad, she took her kids with her. She wasn't like, oh, well, I just need a break and I need to get away because this man's driving me crazy for whatever reason, whatever their issues were in their marriage. She didn't say, oh, well, you know what? You take the kids and I'm going to go over here and do this, that, and the third. She was like, me and my children, we're out of here.
Mm.
So I saw that example. So maybe for me, because it was my mother and, when it was bad for my mom, she kept her kids and she took care of us. But then I saw other family members, other women that were like, well, that I can't do it. So I'm going to put this child, in better hands because I'm not able to do it. You know, and I, like I said, I saw it both ways, but for me, personally, for me, that is not an option.
Right.
That is not an option. It was not an option. My child needs to be with me, and I needed to sacrifice to take care of this kid, to give this kid, the best life that they possibly could have, and the best of my abilities,
Yep. That's normal, right? I mean, it's, even if you don't have like an inherent yearning to have a child or whatever, once you produce that child, I mean, your brain rewires itself, all kinds of things happen that literally, like, a piece of that baby lives inside of you forever. Literally, even if you go through postpartum, maybe it might take a while, but literally the whole, I care about this kid above all else, that is a natural response. If you don't have that, that means something abnormal is going on inside of your brain somewhere. There's something went off for some reason. I don't know what it is, right? Because at the end of the day, we don't know her whole entire life story, but the fact that she doesn't have vaguely a normal like 8 years is a long time to know a kid.
Yeah.
8 years. Like, like that kid was basically born in 2012 then, right? That's the year my godson was born. So I'm thinking, I don't even live with that kid, and I call myself his deadbeat dad all the time because, I love him more than anything. He takes after me more than his mother, but I don't have no money to pay for him, but I love him. I show my love when I come around on occasion, right? Yeah, deadbeat daddy. But my point is, I've known that kid for 8 years, and I'm telling you, if he needed a piece of a liver, we have the same blood type, I'll give it to him, no questions asked. Like, even with all my health issues, whatever, I will give him a piece of my liver, no questions asked. There is nothing I would not sacrifice for that kid. And like, if anything were to ever happen to his parents, God forbid, he's willed to me, I would have no problem picking up that slack immediately. There's no way I'd be like, well, I have my own problems, so nope. That's 8 years of a godson. He didn't come out of me.
Yeah, and that's a kid that you didn't even carry. So, but you have that, that the wherewithal to be like, no, I'd be there for that child,
Right.
So for this mother to carry this baby, for all that time, and then, be in this child's life for 8 years and say, okay, well, today's the last day I'm going to be your mom on that daily basis type thing, because I'm about to be over here doing
Right.
this other thing.
Because I'm going to find me a man. I found me a man. And girl, he's got a jacuzzi and a pool. And oh, the richest, girl, the richest. Trust me. I hope when you grow up one day, you can find yourself a man this fly. Anyway, so I'll see you on what? Your sweet 16? All right, deuces. Right? Like, that's basically
Dang,
what
that's
yeah.
messed up.
Yeah.
That's messed up.
It sounds cold, but that's what she did. And I want to take like 10 seconds here because I'm sorry. I understand, like, we're talking about her. But gentlemen out there, if you're dealing with a woman like this, you're married to her, she's your girlfriend, you just accidentally knocked her up in a club, I don't know. If you have the nerve to leave your child in primary care with a woman who is like this, um, I don't know what to say, except if you aren't very regularly and actively in that kid's life and keeping an eye on it, this is your kid too. When she decides to throw your kid into the trash because a better prospect came along, that's your progeny. Like, that's your legacy. That's half of you that she's throwing into the trash and condemning to that life. That's a kid that might have grown up to be the next, Michael Jordan, or the next, brilliant brain surgeon, or the next Malcolm X. But you know what? That woman threw your kid into the trash and you weren't there to pick up the pieces. You weren't there to say, listen, you don't want my kid? No, it's cool. Don't worry about it. I'll take him. I'll take her. you know and this is where I got to put some accountability on the other parent, because I have no idea why that kid was still with this woman to begin with. B, I have no idea why, when she wants to throw the kid away, where's the father? Because she didn't say he died, she said he's not in the picture, which means he is alive and well somewhere.
And
Right.
that's why I said, unless he's, incarcerated, it's a whole different story. There's no way he can come and get the kid, you
Mm-hmm.
know. But, who is he, a bum on the streets, or is he just, just living his life,
Right.
And the thing that always gets me with that, and I'll never be able to understand this either, is how a man, regardless of how he feels about the woman, how a man can just have a child floating out there on this earth and not have any contact with that kid, or not care about what's going on with that kid, and just go on about his merry business. I mean, we always hear the phrase, mama's baby, daddy's
Daddy's
maybe.
maybe. Mm-hmm.
Because if I have a kid, I know for a freaking fact that the kid is mine. There's no doubt about it. I pushed it out. I know the kid is mine. But men don't always have that definitive,
Yeah.
definite, yes, it's my child. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
I think I might have a kid in New Jersey,
Mm-hmm.
is how some men are. But I really give a shout out to the men that say, you know what, that's my kid, and you're not about to be messing my child up. I'm taking my kid. And I
That.
and I've known some men like that. And you know what? I will give them applause for that, because I know some men that, yeah, that's my kid, but he's all right. His mom got him, you know.
Oh yeah, we got some men in these YouTube streets that, and they talk about the fact that they have custody of their children, right? I mean, single fathers to daughters, single fathers to sons, and hey, in some cases they had to fight in court to get their kid. It's not like this child was handed over freely. So it does happen where a man And they'll tell their stories too, but it does happen where a man will say like, hey, listen, you know what, this mother's not doing right by my kid. I think young children should be nurtured by their mothers, but this woman's not doing right by my kid, so you know what, I'm gonna go get my kid. The end, because it's my kid too. They're not just saying, well, she's not going to do right, then you know what, well, now she's going to screw up that kid, and when that kid is screwed up and coming to me at 14 pregnant and needing help from daddy, then I'm going to blame the mama. No, you were part of this too. You could have made a difference too. It's, again, half your responsibility, half yours, half your problem. Now, I guess the other thing is, and another thing I wanted to address, because I don't understand this part about the married divorce thing, because I don't know. I mean, because I know sometimes you get extra details that we don't get, Shar, because you got to make it video friendly. So does it say how long she was married to the last person, or if it was actually in fact her ex-husband who's the father of this kid?
It is assumed
Mm.
it is the ex-husband's child, and there's no information about how long the marriage was.
Right. Okay. Did she say how old she is?
No.
No, I can't remember. Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, no details on that at all.
This is interesting. I mean, we don't have any real details to try to except for give like very, very vague, opinions. It's difficult. I mean, again, I don't want to help her because I don't like her.
Oh, no.
No, I don't.
It can help someone else.
Well, I ain't trying to help anyone else who's trying to throw their kid away for a man. But okay, fine. I guess I should talk generally about let's pretend she didn't throw her kid away. I just have to take that out of my head like it didn't happen. Because again, like I said, the fact that you did that, anyone who knows you did that, that relationship can't happen. But let's say that didn't happen. So let's say either you don't have a child at all, you never had a child, or a child, it was already not in your custody because, say the father has a much better working situation, blah, blah, blah. So, you got visitations, whatnot, whatever. The point is this, before you're so focused on getting him to marry you, that it seems like you're not 100% sure, honestly, what the parents' problem is with you. Let's pretend there really is a problem there. That she knows the parents have directly spoken to her. He is a little bit of a wuss and just will never stand up to his parents. Stuff like that. Okay. So it seems to me like maybe what you would do is get to know the parents. I know it seems like common sense that you would get to know the parents, but the parents only know two things about you, it seems like, which is that you're a divorcee and that you have a child right now and you're not married. That's what they know. Okay. It seems like they don't know you for who you really are. This is giving your relationship a lot of credit. I don't think it has, but let's say you had one, a real relationship. You even say I love yous. You guys have Thanksgivings and Christmases together, and he just won't take that next step. Say that's what it is. In that case, I would say again, it seems like you haven't taken the opportunity to get to know his family. And clearly, family is very important within his family. Like, these are people who it matters if you bond with the mom and the dad and the cousins and the aunties and the uncles and whatever. It matters if they like you. It matters if they think that you're not just a nice girl or whatever, but if they think you're kind, if they get along with you, if their kids are terrified of you or love you. So, maybe you need to make more of an effort there. Because I have been part of families where, like when I'm dating someone, where, there's one girlfriend that kind of like everyone hates that chick. right? And you could tell because she's just stuck up. She's annoying. She just kind of keeps to herself, except for when her man's talking to her. You try to speak to her, she answers you in like one word answers. You feel like she's being such a snooty, like little so and so. But she might just be shy or she might be snooty, but we don't know because she's not trying to get to know anybody. And so the family doesn't know her, and family is very important to them. So, it's like your man might be seeing one thing, but he's getting so much negative feedback from everyone else who sees you the second his back turns that he can't make a move. He's feeling like very unconfident because no one sees in you what he sees in you. So if you're actually being genuine, if you're not just some fake, very, very disingenuous person, then what you need to do is allow who you are to shine through. So get to know his family, get to know his parents. Maybe take his mom out to get her nails done or, for something. Try to get to know them and let them see you and bond with them. That would be the step I would do. Is try and be helpful. And I mean, not to her, but like to other
You know
people.
what? I'm
Yeah.
gonna tell you, Ruby, I wouldn't be doing any of that. You know, I'm not doing any of that. My thing is that I'm not here, for the social graces of your family. Now, your family, I should have a general relationship with your family, and there should be, a level of respect there with the family. But if
Right.
these people, and I'm talking about your family, if these people are judging me solely on my stats, single mom, divorced, if you're just judging me on that, I'm not about to stick my neck out and try to do anything extra. And my thing is that if you're judging me on the same standards that your family is judging me on, no need to go any further.
Mm,
But obviously, she's not on that level. Because
right.
she's like, well, I just want to get into their good graces.
Yep.
So, taking mom out for a mani pedi, might be the thing that she needs to do. But my thing is that, in my situations, I really have never encountered a mother that didn't like me. You
Mm-hmm.
um I'm a decent girl. I can conversate with anybody, but at the end of the day, my relationship is with my man. I
Right.
I am able to have outside relationships and friendships, and hold a conversation, and depending on the relationship, we can build, and really have some true bonds, with his family members. But if they're just already got the door closed because of my stats, I'm a divorcee
Uh-huh.
with a child, then where am I going with that? Where
Mm,
the hell am I going with that if they already have the door closed with that? I'm not trying to push that any further. And if he's standing at the door with them, looking at me, judging me on my stats,
right.
I don't want to have anything to do with him either. It's like that's a turn off.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that is definitely a fair point, but I think that, one thing you said, which is, well, parents trying to like me, but in order for them to like you, they have to know you, right? And I think sometimes some men um go about things in the wrong way. So they will tell their parents details they should not say until the parents know something about you. Because otherwise, like, you think about it from this perspective, right? So your son is unmarried, he has no children, y'all are relatively, let's say, wealthy, he's doing pretty well off for himself too, right? And then he tells you that he's dating this woman, and before he tells you anything else, he tells you that she is a divorcee and a single mother. And then he tells you stuff about her, about how great she is, or how kind she is, or how much you really like her. It's like the fact that you mentioned those first two things first, it makes them hyper focus on those things. And it's like the only thing that they're thinking about now. So every other trait you tell them, they filter it through the lens of single mother and divorcee. single mother and divorcee. Oh, she's so kind. Well, she's divorced. If she was so kind, why is she divorced, right? And because that's your first information. So some men are not good at presenting information. So say, hey, I'm dating a new woman. You're gonna love her. She's great. And then you get to know her, and then you guys have the little, drill sergeant time, and that's when you find out she's a divorcee and she has a kid. That's, I think, a better segue into it of, hey, let me tell you about my past a little bit. Like, some guys are not good at that, and they don't tell you about personality first. They'll tell you about the stats first, and then that kind of messes things up, especially for mama.
Well, where are his balls? My thing is, sorry, I'm sorry, but if I'm dating a man, or a man is dating a woman, how he connects to that woman and the relationship he has with that woman has absolutely nothing to do with his family. Now, when he does, say, hey, I want you to meet, this girl, she's great. And, I'm really digging her. And they find out what her stats are and they have an issue with it. That's their issue. That issue that they have with her should actually go over his head if he's holding his own balls. If he is his own man and he's living his life, his family is not going to tell him, oh, her stats don't match up to what we think that you should be, associated with. Unless, this woman is an older woman and the son is younger, I can see something like that happen. Oh, this woman is 27. She's divorced. She has an 8-year-old kid, and our son is 25 with no kids. You're going to be like, hey, wait a minute. What are you doing with this divorced woman? What's going on? That's a whole different story. It just all depends, with the details. But at the end of the day, 25 or not, if he's holding his own sack, it's like, hey, I love her, or, we're really vibing and I want you to meet her, and let's take it from there. I've met her kid. Her kid is delightful. The kid is well-mannered and wonderful. There would be no way this woman would even be thinking that she had to give this kid away to please his family, because this man would not hear of it. He wouldn't hear of it. I mean, what kind of man would want a woman that would give away her child?
I don't think he wanted her to do that. I think that was an elective choice she made. Well, can't do anything about the fact that I'm a divorcee, but I can do something about the fact that I'm a single mother, right? I produced a child, but doesn't mean I have to mother her. I think that was her broke down mentality, not anything that he specifically allowed or asked. I think that just happened. But I will say this, because on one side, I agree with you, because I do think that, there's infantilized men, basically, and they're still basically grown children. And so that is a problem. But there's a difference between that and, I mean, you do definitely get a cultural kind of shift, depending on if there is one, where if the culture is family, then family does approve. So, you're making a decision, but you will not make a decision that dishonors your family. So, and so your kind of parents do have the final say. But like, it depends on, because we don't know a lot about her and her culture, or his culture, or whatever. But I mean, I've seen that, and not because the guy's like, a wussy wuss or anything, but it's just, that's how things are done. Like, if you were to, your parents paid for your whole life, they paid and put you through, full ride of school up to your master's, or, if you're in med school or law school or whatever, they paid for all of that for you. They set you up, and all they're asking from you is for you to respect something like this, because, for them as well, they pay for the wedding. Right. So, and then, their wedding gift is normally buying you a house, and all they're asking, and then when they die, you get their millions of dollars, and all they're asking is for you to respect their wishes. Which is that, they're not going to sit there and pick women for you. Although, we do know there's arranged marriage cultures out there. But, that if we tell you like, nah, man, this one's not right for you, we see something you don't, that you respect that. And I do think that that's a little bit different. And in this case, I don't think the family's wrong, right? I mean, I think the family sees something in this woman, um, and he's right to respect it, because it's not like clearly she's being all picky and whatever. Like, this is the kind of woman who throws away her kid to impress a man. That is not a quality woman. That's not someone you want your son to marry. And hopefully, I would hope that my children, I hope that I don't become such like a nag or like annoying or like up in their business. So if I give them that kind of advice, they'd respect it, because I can very clearly see this is a gold digging. I didn't mean to say the previous word. A gold digging, crazy person. That's what it's called. It's called a crazy person.
Well, I also asked, when does it end? Because if the guy shouldn't marry you because the parents say so, what else would the parents say later on? And I get what you were saying with the college and wedding and house and all of that, but it still would be in the back of my mind. What else are they going to say that they want him to follow and that he would follow, that I would really have a problem with? And that's why I would not be trying to trade in my child and all of that in hopes that things will work out for us in the future.
And that's why I said, where are his balls? Because my thing is, it's like, dude, I mean, yeah, I'm not saying throw the family's opinion, in the gutter, but if we're using superficial stats, and a single mom, a divorced single mom is a superficial stat, because attached to that is a stigma that, oh, this is a downtrodden woman. She's down on her luck. Everything is just all bad. That is not true, based on those stats. Sometimes marriages don't work. And people separate and they go about their separate ways. That is just what it is. It doesn't mean because she was a horrible person or he was a horrible person. It just didn't work. And the result of this is, hey, I've got this kid and, I'm raising this kid by myself. So, I don't need your family's, stigma, that they have attached to that placed on me, and for you to be looking at me through those lenses, unless that's how he really feels, unless he feels that way about those stats. And that's another thing. Does he share the opinion of his family?
Of course he does.
He may very well share the opinion of his family and think that she is sorrier than sorry based on her stats. But he's still, banging it out because it is what it is, and good is good.
Yeah, I think he does, because they're the ones who raised him. Right. I share, when it comes down to, even though me and my mother are like from opposite planets as far as like everything, when it comes to basic, no, it's true. But when it comes to basic, like that, those hardcore foundational principles, everything I share with her. Right. Why? Because she's the one who raised me. She conditioned me. But, I'm going to say this. I don't think that his parents are wrong. I don't. And I know I'm about to get, like, every week I say something that's going to lose me like 10 subscribers minimum. I get it. Fine. But here's the thing. I don't think she's wrong. Or they're wrong. And here's why. Because I feel the same way. I never dated men who had children. Why? Because I didn't have children. Just like I didn't date divorcees. Why? Because I wasn't a divorcee. So the way I saw it was, if you have children, then you are in a different place than I am necessarily in your life. Why? Because you have children, and you run your life according to those children. If I was, a 21-year-old single woman with no children, never been married before, my life is on kind of like, it's in a different place than yours. And we're running at different speeds. for necessary reasons, even if we're the same age. You had to grow up and do a bunch of stuff differently than I did for you to be able to be successful in life and take care of your kids at the same time that I didn't have to do. So I wanted to find someone who, had a similar kind of trajectory as me. And, and then I've also talked about me and bonding and whatnot, but it just came down to like, no, I wanted to find someone who did not have kids. I don't have kids. We get together, we make kids. If at that point, right? So now let's talk about, let's say I'm married now, 4 kids that I always wanted because I started early and whatever. And then if things don't work out, I wouldn't want to date a single man, to be honest with you at that point. I wouldn't. I would want to date a man who is a divorcee. So he's learned a lot of life lessons already. He's learned about himself, about marriage, about what works, about what doesn't, about what he's really looking for. And he has children too. So we're all, again, same page. He's not like, oh, in 5 years, we're going to start vacationing in the Alps and this and that because he has no kids and no attachments. No, I want him to feel the same way I do. We're looking at family vacations. We're looking at this. We're looking at that. We're in a similar place. So in that way, I agree with his parents. Why? Because if she's a divorcee with a kid and he is unmarried, never been married, and he has no children, then they're kind of in different places already. Well, they should be. It seems like she's not at all,
Right.
right? But they're in different places. So this is not, a value judgment on, single mothers or divorcees. This is just to say, I see the perspective. I get it. And I actually understand why you would think that way because I share that point of view
But at
for
the end
myself.
of the day, that's his decision to make.
Mhm.
If we're talking about someone who's over the age of 21, he needs to make the decision that, what, I like her character. I like her
Mhm.
personality. I vibe with her. And guess what? I met her kid and I think her kid is great.
Mhm.
So to me, that all of that meshes into something. And I do understand, if these are things that he's never done before. But even if you get to a certain age, and once you're past the age of understanding whether you've done something or not, you're old enough to know better.
Mhm.
So I mean, whether he's had kids or not at age, let's just say he's 35, you don't need to have kids and be divorced, to be on the same playing field with me. You have lived life, enough to know that, hey, life is what it is. And, you only get so many opportunities to meet your match. And when you come into contact with your match, and if you vibe with somebody, you better go for it. Because it might be another 10, 20 years before you find somebody that you vibe with, because that's just the way that this world is. There's a lot of people out there that you can get with, but you're not going to vibe with everybody.
Right. Yeah.
So if he's vibing with her and they're on the same wavelength and her stats just happen to be that she's divorced with a child, I don't give a damn. I feel this man should hold his nuts, say, hey, family, I appreciate it, but, this is my choice and this is what I'm dealing with. But you know what? That's not even really the case. She is the freaking shaky one because she's the one who's willing to do all the cartwheels, the splits, the flips, and the back just to try to fit into this cookie cutter of this family. And he hasn't even asked her. This man he hasn't even asked her, well, I'm going to need you to get rid of your kid. He may have just told her, hey, my family feels some type of way because you're divorced and you have a kid. What? Okay, well, I'll get rid of the kid.
Right.
So he has to be looking at her like, okay, well, heifer, I don't want to be with you.
You know what though? Because here's the thing: a lot of people ask the question "what," but they forget to ask why. And so, for example, and it flashed back to you talking about Catholicism at the beginning of the show, Shar, and we have to remember that like if this family, let's say, is strict Catholics,
Okay.
if the church did not, and she's a Catholic, and the church did not release her from her previous marriage, then she cannot remarry in the Catholic Church. Period. She can't. Which means, therefore, he can't get married in the Catholic Church. So if he's a strict Catholic, his marriage can't be blessed by his own religion if he marries her. Right? That is a high
Oh.
burden. Yes. So that is a high burden if you are severely, again, Catholicism's all about guilt and shame. So, that is a high burden to put on a relationship. You have to be the love of his life for him to forsake his religion, his whole entire belief system for you, right? And then not only forsake his religion, break his mama's heart because she's been planning for you to get married in the big old St. John's or whatever your Catholic church is near you, your whole life, and you've been planning it too. And so I mean, you won't be able to get buried inside their little Catholic graveyard. I mean, there's all kinds of fool, No, seriously,
graveyard.
It's true,
Dang.
man. Well, the Catholics wouldn't
It's so funny. She said your Catholic
Catholic graveyard. Okay. No, I meant Catholic funeral. I don't know, man. Listen, they have some rules though. They're serious with it. They really keep track. It's not like the apostolics and stuff like that. Like, yo, do you? So, because of that, there might be other considerations. And I don't think that she's ever asked why. It's just they don't like this and this about you. But why? What does that actually mean to them? What does that qualify to them? Is it because of religion? Is it because of something else? You try to just throw away your kid and think that you solved the problem, but that might not be addressing the problem at all. That might not be addressing the issue they have with single motherhood. You have no idea what the issue is. Because I don't think that she's taken the time to ask anybody why. Why is that an issue? And if that is an issue, is there anything we can do about it? Or are you just playing with me?
Mm.
And I think she doesn't ask because she's scared of the answer. She doesn't want to know.
Yeah, a lot of time people don't want to know.
Because he is just, listen, I dated a mama's boy forever. Okay, forever before this man proposed to me. He didn't propose to me or not propose to me for 7.5 years because he was scared of his mama who hated my guts. Hated my guts because I'm stealing her baby, right? Hated my guts. Yeah, because it's her little miracle baby, born at 2 pounds, 2 months early in the 80s. Like that was, 2 pounds, born 2 months early in the 80s, early 80s, 82. That was like miracle baby. 40 years old. She had like 6 miscarriages before this one. This was her last shot. And then he survives. So this is her little miracle baby, her only child, blah, blah, blah.
Right? And here you come.
Right. Hated my guts. My guts. Oh my God. I mean, at one point, even after surgery, I was all hopped up on goofballs and stuff like that. And she hates me. And he's staying at my house for like, a couple weeks just to help me out after surgery. Because I literally it was on my stomach. So I can't sit up in bed by myself, like in the middle of the night. I'm going to need help with some stuff. She stays with me for that 10 days. And this woman, the very first day I got home from the hospital, she calls me and I was on the phone with my mom telling her I'm home because, I'm the patient, but cool. And she calls me and she goes, he there? Not hello. How are you doing? Anything like that, right? No, he there? And I said, yes, hold on a moment. I told my mom I have to go. I gave him the phone. And he was standing in front of me while she cussed about me. I didn't raise no man to be no one's nursemaid and blah, blah, blah. You sure she could still have kids? You sure they didn't just take out of her ovaries? And I can hearing this woman cuss about me. Right?
Wow.
And I'm telling him to move. I'm telling him to leave. Like, go, because I can hear her. And unfortunately, I'm already propped up in bed. So then I stood up and I was like, I can effing hear you. Only I cursed, right? And I'm like, what's your effing problem? I just had surgery. Why would you do something? Like, I was so upset, right? So because I swore at her, that woman did not talk to me for like 4 years. Like would not, yeah, wouldn't acknowledge my existence. I swear to God, I was dead to her. Like, she wouldn't, like, we'd go to his baseball games and she would pretend that I legitimately did not exist. Like, I was dead to her, not allowed in her house, nothing. So I
Should
mean, that's
throw a
how,
ball at her head and then turn your head like, I don't know who threw that. Do 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 do
girl,
do do.
girl,
Okay, that's just my
try.
fantasy. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it was for a long time too. But the point is that despite all of that, despite the fact that he moved in with me by sneaking out of his mama's house, like he never told her he was moving out. He would just go back on weekends, and every time he left, he just took a little bit more out until one day none of his stuff was in her house. But he never like officially told her he was moving out. Like, yeah, foolishness, right? The point is though, is that despite all of that punk assness, the reason why he didn't propose had nothing to do with being scared of her, because she didn't obviously want me and her family and blah blah blah, right? The problem is that he thought he had to be super over established before he ever proposed. But that being said, he still proposed. You know why? Because if a man wants to marry you, even if he is a punk child, if he really wants to marry you, he's going to do it anyway, even if his parents hate you, even if he's punky, even if he's scared of his mama, even if religion, even if whatever. If a man actually really wants to marry you, he's going to propose to you. If he didn't propose to you, he doesn't want to marry you. If he's not talking about it, he doesn't want to marry you. If he hasn't brought you to go look at rings, he doesn't want to marry you. Like, that's what it is. I'm sorry. Like, there's not like an in between. We can't give the out of, well, he's scared of his mama, because it's not true. Trust me, men might be scared of their mamas. They might not admit it to their mama's face, but they'll still propose to you anyway. You know? Like,
Well,
that's just what it
I
is.
will tell you, I did once date a man who he introduced me to his mother, as his friend, because at the end of the day, I was his friend, you know, and he did not want to tell his mother he was dating me. He said, because if I tell her I'm dating you, then she's not going to like you. But
Ooh.
as his friend, she just loved me. She thought I was wonderful. Thought I was the best thing since sliced buttered bread. Okay. But his thing was that if she found out that we were a thing, if he told her that we were a thing, she wasn't going to like me no more. And I had to like ponder on that. I had to think about it. And I was just like, really? I said, let me just tell you this. I said, I'm not going to deal with that. I'm not laying down with your mama. I'm not sleeping with her. I'm not having pillow talk with your mama. So I absolutely did not deal with that. I mean, needless to say, me and that gentleman are not together today, but it was just so funny to me that was something that he was worried about. That, hey, he introduced me as her friend and she's like, oh, you're just wonderful and you're great. And he's like, yeah, she knew that, me and you were whoopty bam bam, and whatnot. She wouldn't like you. And I was like, what? I was like, for real? He's like, yeah. And I was just like, okay, I had to really let that sink in. And that just told me, it just gave me an insight into their relationship. It gave me an insight into this man, that, he knew enough about his mom that he knew that she would treat a woman differently if she knew that this woman was dating her son versus, oh, this is his friend.
Yep. Mama's boy.
So I was just like, wow. I had to think about that one for a minute, and I was just like, I'm not about to be dealing with this. Your mama's great. I like her and everything. I said, but I am not about to be standing in line competing with your mama.
Right.
Because, what we got going on up over here, your mom ain't putting in on none of this.
Watch out now.
Right.
This is between me and you. So I really, really had to think about that. But to me, that was just really astounding to me that he was like, yeah, if she knew that, me and you were a thing, she wouldn't like you. And I was like, what? And because me and her got along so great. He said, yeah, but nope, because the last girl, they didn't like each other. She didn't like her no way, shape, or form. And I was like, oh wow. I was like, oh, okay. Well,
But you
but
know what though?
uh-huh.
I'll say, to be fair, sometimes guys are not that smart when it comes to these things, relationships between women. So she might have just legitimately hated the ex-girlfriend because the ex-girlfriend was just legitimately a crappy person and he just didn't see it. And whereas she likes you, and maybe she was hoping, oh man, I hope he starts dating this one because I like this one. But he's not as good at reading the emotionality and whatever. Because I have seen that happen too, where
Mm-hmm.
like legit this mama was cold as ice to one girl, and then the next girl came along and oh my god, butter wouldn't melt in her mouth. Oh, she's so sweet. Oh, why they weren't actually evaluating the personality. They weren't just trying to trap their child husband forever. So
I just think that's funny. I mean, you got to be very aware of the relationships that your intended spouses have with their parents, and how they actually how grown up they are.
mhm
You know.
mhm how grown up is so key. Those words are how grown up. If they're not full grown, don't don't. If you are dating a man and he is in his 30s, I'll say this: if he's in his 30s and even if he doesn't live at home with his mama still runs him. He's not grown. Run, because that's who's running your relationship, not him, but her. Just as a final thought there. Like,
Well, thank you, ladies, for your conversation. I appreciate always. Thank you so much. And those out there, thank you so much in the audience. I appreciate your support. And thank you for those that contributed to the channel. Check us out tomorrow for article reactions. Should be kind of interesting. I think we got a couple of things that's going to be on the docket that you may like and laugh at. I hope so anyway. I got a couple of things I think is kind of cool.
ooh, okay.
And check us out tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. Saturday. Article, can't even get it out. Article reaction. And until then, peace.
Cheers, y'all.
Peace out.
Hey, folks, it's your nighttime, it's your right time DJ Music. Make sure you join Char Willie each and every Saturday, 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central, for Article Reaction, right here on your local YouTube channel. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe to Article Reaction.